ElevenLabs is obviously extremely well known for voice AI, for text-to-speech, for, I think that beautiful intro we just got was actually an ElevenLabs.
Oh, amazing.
So a little co-branding there. And I'm wondering, in the last discussion we heard this, topic of, is the text box the best interface for AI? And I would imagine you have a take on how, no, voice is the best interface for AI, or voice is the best interface for computing going forward. I'm interested, what do you think are the best use cases for voice AI, and where do you see it, today, a year from now, 5 years from now, and beyond?
First of all, thanks for having me here. Great to see you all. And I actually didn't know this was voice generated, but it had a great pronunciation of my surname.
I know.
It's actually hard, so I'm happy.
You guys train on your last name specifically.
We should. I don't know if we do, so we'll definitely do now going forward. So as a company, one of the key things we are aiming to solve is how humans and technology interact, how you create with technology and make it seamless, how you interact with technology and make it seamless. And in general, to your question, we think voice will be one of the key interfaces for interacting with the technology across. From the simple pieces like interacting with the personal agent to help you go through the day, where it can be on your headphone and be able to guide you, through to education. That's one of the ones that I'm probably the most excited about, where in the future, the combination of what LLMs allow you and what voice will allow you is that you will be truly immersed with learning the given experience, where you'll be able to effectively have your personal tutor on their phone helping you across. Then the third one is, of course, for voice and for the language barrier to break, we need to figure out how to be able to speak across different languages while carrying the same intonation, emotion, voices, which will be a big shift. And then in general, how we interact with everything around us, whether it's the laptop, the phone, the robot in the future. And I think robot maybe is the easiest example. Of course, this will be voice-driven. There's no other interface. And today, maybe it's a year or decade, as Karpati said, of agents. Of course, there's on the horizon the decade of robots. And I think here, too, the most common interface will be voice. Yeah. It's not going to be only interface, though, so you'll have
I mean, it's interesting you brought up those use cases of a personal assistant, a tutor, and I guess a robot, house helper or nanny or something like that. Is your mental model that basically anything that today is something where you could have a human counterpart, right? A human tutor, a human assistant, a human in your house, you're going to fall to that voice interface as the most natural way to do it because we as humans are already used to using voice for those things? Or are there things where today, voice isn't used at all, really, but it's something that we're going to expand into going forward?
Yeah, so first of all, for sure. I mean, we're already seeing that, and I think that's the easiest one and the most immediate one is how customer experience, customer support is just changed and elevated, where you, instead of calling and trying to rebook your ticket and going through this IVR flow of click 1, click 5 to get through the steps and waiting for the number of minutes, you will have an agent that fully understands you, can guide you to the response and go through and resolve that.
I wanted to get into that, actually, because we talked a little bit about agents on the phone and the calling United Airlines or American Express or something. What percentage of customer support calls today are actually managed by a voice AI system or an agentic system or whatever you want to call it versus IVR touch buttons and how do you see that progressing over time? Is that exponential curve going like this every year?
Yeah, I think the exponential curve is going like this, especially this year we've seen incredible adoption, whether it's Cisco, Twilio, Deutsche Telekom, all of those kind of leaning in quickly to rebuild how you interact with help of voice agents.
Yeah.
And I think you're right, the IVR flows is still a big part.
Who can I call today and get a voice AI agent on the phone?
You can, we did our little summit yesterday as well, and one of the great ones was voice ordering with Square.
Okay.
Where you can call Square and actually order food delivery through help of a lot of the shops that work around with Square and actually do it through voice. I actually recently, if any of you are from London or traveled to London, there's an amazing restaurant called Zephyr. It's a Greek restaurant.
Okay.
Where we worked with the company supporting that, where to my happy moment, I noticed that on their website, it actually had ElevenLabs agent that you could call and actually book a spot there too.
So you can book a reservation at this restaurant in London with a voice AI agent?
Exactly.
Okay.
And it connects, of course, to your calendar, your appointment scheduling, which is great.
And when do you think we hit the tipping point where like the average customer service call goes through a voice AI agent? Like the median, the 50% point, whatever you want to call it.
I think over the next 18 months.
Next 18 months.
Yes,
Okay.
I think next 18.
So like mid 27, I call, the average customer support is handled by voice AI.
Exactly. And I mean, this is the most immediate one, the one where we see the highest ROI and value. Mm-hmm. Some of the other use cases we see as the kind of where the future is headed. But to your point, there's definitely one flavor of your point, which is how you can do things more efficient through voice with the existing services. But there's also the second theme where you can do things that weren't possible ever before. One of the good examples was our work with Epic Games, where we brought effectively Darth Vader alive in Fortnite, where millions of players could interact with Darth Vader live throughout the game, which of course is not possible in any other way.
James Earl Jones' voice, right?
James Earl Jones and his estate worked with us, and it's such an iconic and incredible voice. And we think, like, in general, that concept of like what was never possible before, where you have incredible voices, talent, you can now shift them to be not only static, but actually dynamic delivery, personalized and different for all the users. Something that you are already doing in many ways at Volley as well in an incredible way. I think this will be a big...
I have to ask as someone in gaming, right? I mean, the Darth Vader did famously go slightly off the rails and maybe say some things he shouldn't have to various players online. Like, how involved were you guys in that? How much of that is something you're protecting or against going forward? Like, obviously with the IP partners and so on, they really want to protect... I guess you couldn't say it's the squeaky clean image of Darth Vader, but a certain persona of Darth Vader. Like, what's your sort of go forward plan as you license more of these IPs and voices and things like that?
Yeah. So on that project, we are specifically involved on the voice side.
Yeah.
But in general, as we think about those deployments, and that's the most common theme is. You don't only need the voice or the interactive experience. That's kind of one part of the equation. Then there's two other big pieces to really make them valuable. The second one is how you integrate that with other systems and actually bring the knowledge base, the data, the business logic inside of the system, and how do you make it interactive with the real world. And the third one, which is the one that you mentioned, is how do you now deploy that in production with the right testing flow, right evaluation flow, and then monitor over time as it behaves, put the right safeguards, and evaluate and adjust that based on that case. So that's something that we spend a lot of time on with a lot of players.
So testing more and evaluating more, so Darth
Exactly.
Vader doesn't go off the rails. Yeah.
It's and even like in a customer experience, you don't want it, for example, to shift and speak about politics. You want it to keep it on the topic.
Even if you say ignore all previous instructions and
exactly, even if you, which is actually harder to say when you have like this. You probably see the prompts with a lot of.
Hard to do prompt injection with voice.
And the Unicode characters, say them out.
Oh yeah, okay.
Impossible.
Okay, so maybe voice is slightly less susceptible to prompt injection than LLMs. I'm interested with like. That's a good segue into sort of celebrities and celebrity voices, because I know you guys announced, I believe, yesterday, you're setting up kind of a marketplace for celebrity voices, and you have Michael Caine on there. And you know, at our company, we build voice AI games, as you know. I would love to use Michael Caine in our game.
That's an iconic voice.
Yeah, we can, you know, obviously it's a high gravitas. We can make a Batman game with him, something like that. Like, what is the process between, oh, I want to use an AI version of Michael Caine in my game, to actually, you know, shipping? And which parts do you guys take care of, and which parts do I need to go off and deal with Michael Caine's people, I guess?
Yeah, so there's effectively, through ElevenLabs, we've created a huge marketplace of voices. Until yesterday, that meant that everybody here could create their voice, any voice actor, voice talent, could create their voice, share it, and earn money when that voice is being used. 10,000 voices created this way, paid back, coincidentally, $11 million back to the community. For a long time, it was tricky for the iconic voices of how we could bring them onto the platform in a even more controlled environment. So if you think about Sir Michael Caine, voice...
Sir Michael Caine.
Sir Michael Caine.
Yeah, okay.
It's an incredible persona too. You effectively, all you would do is engage, like, hey, this is the project we want to run. Create a game with this specific character. This team would evaluate that. And then we would help deploy that project in actual production. So going through all those steps, how do we make sure that there's right safeguards in place? How do we make sure that there's monitoring in place so it doesn't go off the rails? And build that in our agentic system.
Got it.
But yes, the initial stage of what's the project, what's the compensation structure, would be between you and
Got it. So you guys sort of manage the safety, the agentic
Exactly.
elements of creating Sir Michael Caine within the game, but you still have to do the deal one-on-one with him.
Yes.
You guys sort of facilitate that
Exactly.
relationship.
And over time, we think it will evolve where there will be as we see more examples, preset rates on how that should work.
I'm interested, actually, this brings me to a more general point. You said you had 10,000 plus voices of folks uploaded where you could use any of their voices, I think via just your marketplace model. Has deep faking and so on been an actual problem? I feel like it was something I was hearing, a sort of a moral panic, 12 to 18 months ago, that we're all going to have our voices faked on the phone, and my grandmother was going to get scammed out of her money because I'm locked in jail or something. Is that something you guys see at all? Is that something you're protecting against a lot? How serious of an issue is that with voices?
I think you're right. I still think it's going to be a big issue. In future, all content will be AI generated. We need to find a mechanism to protect and understand which ones aren't. And as a company leading in the space, we do place a lot of safeguards, whether it's traceability, how we moderate, how you can detect the content and give that tools to others. Very quick story on the flip side of that, what we've seen. Recently, we worked with a charity which effectively detects the callers based on IP, and if the IP is likely to be one of the scammers, and they have roughly a good approximation of one that can be coming from, they would have the real scammer call in and deploy a voice agent to waste their time.
Okay.
And I thought it was brilliant.
So you're scamming the scammers with
You're
voice
scamming
AI.
the scammer.
Is this the long-term strategy? You think this will work forever?
I think the long-term strategy is you need 3 layers. You need a human authenticated layer, so on-device encryption, where I'm calling you, this is Mati's phone, it decrypts on your side. That's layer number 1. Layer number 2, all of us will have an agent, whether it's the personal tutor agent, an agent that books things on our account, and they will likely carry our voices, carry our style, do our permissioning. We need a layer where that's watermarked and authenticated, that we know it's a permission piece. Like what we're doing with Sir Michael Caine, all the content that's generated will carry information that this has been carried with permission.
Do you watermark all your voices today, out of curiosity?
All the voices are traceable back to ElevenLabs. We can trace it, yes. And then the third layer, everything else by default will be AI generated.
Got it. I mean, one sort of area that's interesting to me with you guys is you've launched, a text-to-speech model, you've launched a speech-to-text model, a recognition model, you have an agentic orchestration system, you have, all these safety and evaluation tools. In almost all of those areas, I feel like folks in this room, insider AI founders, investors, and so on, could probably name 2 to 3 big competitors. Some with bigger bankrolls than you, and some where you're much farther along. How do you think about competition more generally, and sort of all these pieces of the space that you're playing in? Are there parts where you see it becoming a commodity someday? Other parts where you feel like you have a more sustainable competitive advantage? How do you kind of go through the list of all the products you're working on and figure out where you shake out competitively, I guess?
Yeah, so we started very much on the foundational model side, and in general, we take an assumption, if you ask anybody at ElevenLabs, so they will take that too, that over time, the models will commoditize. That's the assumption we go with.
So all models will commoditize, basically?
All models, they won't the commoditize here, what it would mean is the differences between different models will be just so negligible. Maybe in some domains a little bit more, but in general, they will be relatively negligible. And that's where that shifts to the product, and why we invest so much on the creative side of creating a platform where you can combine all of that together in a controlled way with incredible voices, incredible ecosystem, nuance across languages, accents, voices. And on the other side, as we build agents and help people deploy agents, we deploy that for specific use cases with specific industries, working very deeply with the customers to understand their domains and work backwards from there on what actually needs to happen on the agent side to deliver value.
Got it. So you're saying you're going to specialize in certain industries and sort of really deliver extra value there, even though all the models are commoditizing?
I think the product layer is underappreciated here. I think you still need to build,
good
even
products.
if you, on the agent side, you need to build so many integrations to connect with any of the legacy systems to actually take those appointments and calling. You need to build the right control on when you hand over from an AI agent to a human agent.
Yeah.
You need to have safeguards of some of the ones we spoke about. Then you need the monitoring of how you deploy. All of that is not only a technological shift, it's also a business shift. So by us working so deeply with the customers, it's actually bringing all of the knowledge about their business inside of the agent to actually be able to deploy that value. And I think that will continue delivering value for the long term. And then, of course, you can go layer above where while the models will be relatively similar, the value will actually be on how you can make the models work well for your use case. So maybe you can fine-tune the specific voices, fine-tune the specific use cases so it works slightly different in a gaming use case to a customer experience use case. And I think that value layer will still be.
Got it. So all the models will be commodity. You guys will win on product and sort of vertical specific differentiation.
Exactly. And the wider ecosystem that we build alongside, where I think as we think about the work, we would love to work and bring industry on board with that change. It's so important to bring a lot of the talent, a lot of the partners to work together.
By talent, you mean actors, famous voices?
Actors on the voices side or integrations on the agent side.
So as my last question, what is the coolest sounding voice on the ElevenLabs platform? Could be like a celebrity, could be a famous historical figure. Like, what is just your man, that is an incredible voice, and I cannot believe how well it sounds when we synthesize it.
So my favorite and my co-founder's favorite physicist is Richard Feynman.
Sure.
For those that know
Surely
him,
you're joking. Yeah.
He's both incredible in delivering the knowledge, but also in the style he delivers the knowledge.
Okay.
And now we have Richard Feynman on our platform.
Okay.
Which I think was so cool for learning the subject and speaking with Richard, to reading his lecture listening to his lecture notes from Caltech. Amazing.
Okay. I'm going to have to check that out. Thanks so much, Mati.
Thank you, Mike.
Yep. Appreciate it.